Hello and welcome. My name is Kim. I'm the Children and Young Adult Consultant with the Connecticut State Library. And today we are here with Chris, who is going to tell us about the Mystic Noank book bike that has gotten some recognition. We ran across this in some web article that I can't even remember what it was, but it sounds awesome, kind of like a bookmobile, but on a bicycle. And as someone who worked on a bookmobile for a year, I am ready. I am interested. So Chris, I'm going to turn it on over to you and just tell us how this whole thing happened.
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me to talk about the Mystic Noank Library's book bike today. And thanks for putting on this great series. I think this is going to be increasingly popular as time goes on, and you guys are doing a wonderful job. So I am the Director of Development at the Mystic Noank Library. And development is sort of, my first development job, my boss told me, development is everything. So that was both intimidating and freeing and liberating, because I had the chance to go out and explore, in the name of fundraising for the library, sometimes to develop projects that inspire donors, create new outreach to the community, and of course, there's just the regular hard work of fundraising, letter writing, and personal outreach. So I started at the Mystic Noank Library in February, and the new director, Chris Bradley, who had been there, I think, for 4 or 5 months before I started, and our very senior assistant director and director of children's services and children's programs, Roberta Donahue, we were kind of looking for a way to get the library out of the library. We wanted to, we are close to downtown Mystic, but we are not visible from the downtown. So we're hidden a little bit behind a beautiful old Baptist church. And we're just sort of out of view enough that you could visit downtown Mystic and never know that the library is there. So one of the challenges for the library is to create visibility and do so through outreach. So we started to research and investigate ways that we might get ourselves out in new ways into the community. And our first thought was we were going to order these incredible rolling bookshelves that we saw that have been used, I think, in Brooklyn and in other places. And there's a great nonprofit who is making basically a mobile shelf that encloses onto itself, and it was really elegantly built, and they were somewhat expensive, but it looked like a really interesting product. So we explored that, and we said, we can't afford that. We'll have a local builder make us a rolling shelf. So then we started reaching out to local builders. We're on wheels, we're the shelf, but the book bike concept has not come to us yet. So we talked to a local builder. He says, "Oh, I'd love to build that. That looks like a fun, engineering challenge and a fun design challenge." And then somehow I became aware of this company, Icicle Tricycles, out in Oregon. And they not only make bikes for small boutique vendors of food products to take to farmers markets and public events, and you may have seen them out there in the world selling popsicles or selling things off of a bicycle, but they also developed a line of custom library book bikes that were designed just for libraries, and had a lot of the ingredients and assets that we were looking for. And as soon as we saw the book bike, we said, how could we buy a rolling shelf when we could have a rolling shelf on a bicycle? And immediately the kind of sensational feeling of a bike that is a mini library took us all by storm and sort of carried us away. So we quickly agreed that we were going to buy this book bike. And there are a couple options for libraries and people exploring this. Icicle Tricycle actually is not the only company making these book bikes, so that's good to know. And there may be a more local company doing it in your area. And they also happen to have secondhand book bikes, so that they will refurbish and send you one at a slightly more affordable price point. So once we had decided that we wanted the book bike, that was great. We passed through that we passed through that barrier and through that hurdle. And the next question was, how are we going to present this bike, and how will we merge the branding of the library, and how will we design what is essentially a package? Because the book bike container, the main cart, and I know I sent you guys a shot of the book bike, and I'm sure you'll bring it up at some point. It has 5 sides, and actually has 6 sides, because a shelf comes down in the front, that when the book bike is stationary, that shelf in the front comes up and a second front reveals itself. So this was kind of a package design challenge. Like you might design, a 6-pack or a case for a seltzer or a soda brand, or anything you see in the grocery store, in the department store that comes with kind of multi-sided packaging. So we knew this was going to be outside of our in-house design capabilities. And it also came, if you don't happen to have a graphic designer working at your library who is an expert in Adobe Illustrator, then it's probably time to go out and find yourself a wonderful graphic designer to help you with this project, because the template itself was a little bit intimidating. For example, the wheels come up and obscure a part of both sides of the bike. So looking at this template and thinking about how we were going to present the library's graphics and the messaging we wanted to put on the bike, we had to kind of use these different layers in the Illustrator template and remind ourselves that no, we couldn't put text or an image in a certain place, because that's where the wheel would be, or that's where a headlamp would be in the front. So that was kind of the first, let's step back and think about this design challenge. We are a special library in many ways. We were built in 1893, and the building is really something that we celebrate all the time, because it's quite a special building, and it certainly people stop and say, wow, this is a great library. So we're fortunate to have that. And we also are a special library because we have 2 cats. And the library has a tradition of having cats that live at the library. So we're on our 3rd generation of cats. So we knew right away we wanted to capture the uniqueness and the greatness of what architecturally of what the library offers, and to remind people of what a fun place it is to visit, and an impressive place it is to visit. And we also wanted to highlight our love of our library cats, Violet and Matilda. So we did some kind of rough sketches design-wise in-house of what themes we wanted to explore, with presenting the library on the bike. And there was no real roadmap for this, because it isn't like designing your stationery or doing a poster for the library, because we really had to kind of think. We wanted to make it fun, but we also wanted to make it communicate how to, we wanted our website on there. We wanted how to follow us on social media on there. And we wanted it to look good too. So we picked a green bike. We picked a couple of themes, which was an older image of the library that we thought was kind of cool and said something meaningful about us as a library. And we created some wallpaper, some cat wallpaper, so kind of pasting cats into a pattern that we would use for one surface on the bike. And we went back and forth with the designer. We worked with our chosen graphic designer, who was wonderful, locally here in Stonington. We sent over our first draft of the design to Icicle Tricycles, and they came back and said, well, we see just a little bit of pixelation in this. And that sort of surprised us, because we were using high resolution files and vector-based files, which is files that can be expanded without losing resolution. So the way we tested to make sure that our image that was going to present on the bike was going to present correctly and not be pixelated, was we went and printed out in real size each side of the bike at our local print shop. It was a little bit of an extra expense. We ended up spending another $175, $180 to get these full-size color prints. But what it did was really give us the confidence that the design that we were seeing on the screen and that we wanted to come back to us in the finished product was going to present and look the way that we wanted it to. We also noticed that one of the library book bikes that the Icicle Tricycles book bike manufacturer was showcasing as their own had this cool kind of natural wood finish. And we thought, oh, wow, they've printed right onto a natural wood surface, and this looks great. And we kind of like that. We realized that it was not natural wood, it was vinyl with a wood pattern printed behind the graphics. And it was a very convincing look. So we went online and looked with the help of our designer and found a pattern, a different wood pattern, but something that was high resolution and was vector based that we could use. And we set our graphics on top of that. So it gave, pardon me, it gave the book bike a really cool kind of natural look that had maybe felt a little bit like a beach theme as a design, which felt true to our area because we're on a river and we're on the Sound, kind of where it meets the open ocean there on the Rhode Island border. Then we kind of continued to vet the idea, with staff and to make small adjustments. So it was collaborative. And I think that I just wanted to go on about design a little bit because I think it was something that surprised us a little bit, the amount of energy and resources that we had to put in to designing this. When we decided we wanted to buy the book bike, I don't think we saw that that phase of the process as a major challenge. So that's kind of probably enough about design. I've said where the book bike idea came from, and I've talked about how we created it. Let me just say a few words about how we funded the bike. Like many libraries, we have a friends organization, a wonderful supporting group of volunteers and library patrons whose one of their main goals is to raise money for the library. So we approached our friends group and we said, here's our plan for the book bike. We had some design images ready so we could share kind of our vision, and we were able to show finished book bikes that other libraries had, and they were excited about it. They thought this is neat, and they understood why we wanted the bike. So they agreed to fund about half the cost of the book bike, which was this particular bike cost us a little over $4,000. It does not have a power or battery operated feature. And I'd like to come back to that later because that's another sort of thing that we didn't necessarily think about a lot, but the logistics of actually moving the book bike around, I'll come back to. So to stay on funding, the friends were generous enough, and I'm so grateful to them for funding half of the cost of the bike. The other half came from me going out to local businesses in downtown Mystic and saying, hey, we've got this big idea. We think it's fun. And we want you to be the 2021 sponsors of the Mystic and Noank Library book bike. And they said, the what? And I said, the book bike. It's great. And they said, what is a book bike? So I showed them what that looked like. And it was amazing how quickly and how supportive businesses came on board. So I was able to generate sponsorships, and I'll mention their names because it's still the 2021 book bike season. Mystic Noank, a really fun little company that sells nautical knot themed items. The Mystic Chamber of Commerce, self-explanatory what they do, and we love them. And Snedeker Yachts, who's a yacht restoration firm in Mystic. So we had three really local outfits that all believed in our book bike, and they came through and provided the rest of the resources that we needed to pay for this book bike. So then we had it funded and we had it designed. And the next challenge was this thing has to be shipped to us in a fairly large container. And like most libraries, we do not have a loading dock, because we don't tend to receive large freight items on a regular basis. So we're kind of trying to figure out where is this going to be received. And we used a sort of a shipping hub that was in Rhode Island. And, I rented a truck from Home Depot and I drove the truck up and they forklifted the bike into the back of the truck, drove it back to the library, was able to disassemble the packaging there in the truck. And with the help of a friend from our local Barleyhead brewery, picked the bike off and assembled it. The bike in the center of the book bike was sort of a hinge, and that hinge is connected with a pin and it locks down. So the book bike came folded sort of on an angle in this large container. Within a half an hour, there was not much assembly except to connect to unite that hinge, to pump up the tires, and we were rolling. I will say that we did not realize we were going to have to buy as well an air pump, a helmet, and there's a third item, and I'm blanking on it, and a lock. Yes. So all the basics of bike ownership. So we headed to the local cycle center, tried to get them to sponsor those items, couldn't get a hold of the owner. So we just bit the bullet and bought the necessary supporting items for the book bike. So how am I doing so far? Any questions? Yeah. Good, we're good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at everything. I am flabbergasted. I feel like I say that a lot, but I love that you went and got sponsors. This is all great. I'm interested to hear about the logistics of this. If you could tell us a little bit about that. So this is, like I said, I worked in a bookmobile, like the actual bus, which is similar with regards to, I think it's outreach initiative, but different because it's like a whole bus. How do people check things out on this, and where do you go with it?
Yes, great questions. So on logistics, one of the initial challenges was, how are we going to lend books from the book bike? So we decided that we will not lend books at all from the bike. We have a free shelf, several shelves, a whole bookcase actually of free books in our library. And then we receive a lot of donations of books almost on a weekly basis. Those get collected down in the basement of the library, and they're sold once a year at our annual fair put on by the Friends. So we decided that the easiest way to make books available on the book bike was to give them away. So each time the bike goes out, depending on where it goes, we kind of visit our repository of free books and stock the bike for that outing. Great question about where to visit. That was one of the first things. So we got the bike in August, and we had a couple of months to set up a schedule, and we wanted to go out and visit public places where we could interact with lots of people that were in the area that we serve, which is Stonington, Connecticut, Mystic, Old Mystic, Noank, and Groton, Connecticut, and Old Mystic Village. So, and yes, from Groton, Fitch. And so the very first place we visited, and I think we reached out to every place that we visited ahead of time, to whomever was coordinating that space. But the very first place we visited was the Mystic River Park, which is right beside the Mystic Bridge, the drawbridge or bascule bridge, actually, that goes up and down, creating these wonderful traffic jams and causing people to just stop and admire the bridge. And there in the park was the book bike for its very first visit. I'll also say, with our sponsors, one of the ways we recognized the sponsors and made them visible to the public, we ordered one of those flags you see businesses have, like the teardrop shaped flag. that came on with a pole, and we put the sponsors' logos on the flag. The book bike has several flag pole receivers, for lack of a better word, a place where you can place a flagpole. And so going back to logistics a little bit, we are at the top of a hill, a pretty steep hill that goes into downtown Mystic. The book bike makers do not advise you to ride the bike fully loaded, and books are heavy. So when the bike is looking great and like fully stocked, like a shelf at the library or a bookstore, it is not a great idea to ride it on the street, braking, turning, for a couple of reasons. So we quickly realized that to go really anywhere away from the library, the bike would have to go there first. So I ride the bike there empty, and come back up the hill, take my car and bring down, I know this is behind the scenes, I would take the car fully loaded with books and the book bike flag, and also loaded with programs that were referring to what the activities that were happening at the library that month, with bookmarks. We do some grab and go bags, so I bring some of those along, and really getting a selection of children's books, adult books, some fiction, some nonfiction. So something hopefully to please everyone, and a chair, because I wanted to sit next to the book bike rather than stand there for 3 hours, just because I am naturally lazy. And I did not, although I'm willing to ride the book bike down the hill, and then guess what? The hill is too steep to pedal all the way up. So if you're ever in downtown Mystic, you may see me pushing the book bike back up the hill, empty, of course, not full. So we quickly learned, kind of how to use the bike. Now that was our first visit, the Mystic River Park, and it was wonderful. We later in the season visited the Mystic Museum of Art. We visited the Noank Historical Society and Noank Town Dock, which is a place where people go swimming in the summer and just gather for picnics and for relaxation. We also, one of my favorite visits of the season was to the Groton skate park. And I used to be a skateboarder, and I'm since retired, but I love the skate park. And I wanted to, as a library, not only I, but wanted to collaborate with our local Parks and Recreation department. And the Parks and Rec department in Groton, they manage the Groton skate park. So I reached out to them and said, we'd love to go over to the skate park after school one day, bring the book bike, and see if we can interest skateboarders in grabbing a book. And Groton Parks and Rec was amazing and immediately agreed that this would be a fun collaboration. They came down, brought t-shirts, they brought stationery and other giveaways, like school supply type giveaways. And the community outreach person from Groton Parks and Rec, Jessica, and I spent the afternoon at the skate park. And lo and behold, skateboarders love the book bike. So we quickly had a crowd of skaters around the book bike, finding a book that interested them, grabbing a t-shirt, and delighting in the book bike. A local photographer was there to photograph skateboarders. He decided his mission for the afternoon was really going to be to photograph the book bike. So what I think the most fun thing about the book bike is wherever it goes, whether it's right outside of our library, on a Saturday afternoon to support a children's program, or I've got an upcoming fundraiser where I'll be converting the book bike into a bar because why not? But wherever it is, at a museum or at a skate park or at a park, it does become a center of attention. And in turn, the library becomes the center of attention. And the conversations that are had around the book bike are about books and about the library and just about, enjoying the day and being out there. So I think that's a little bit, on the logistics. Any questions or feedback on that?
I think it's great. My heart is squishing over here listening to this. And, you know, I think pretty much hit everything, but I just thought I would take a moment. We are definitely going to, you know, get the photos that you sent us. We're going to find a way to put them into a slideshow or something and share them. But you know, just for the folks who will watch this, I thought it would be really nice. So here, I see your flags. I see what you're talking about. And I really thought this was wood. And I remember thinking that must be incredibly heavy. But I think this is an amazing outreach event. It sounds like you have some magnificent partnerships that you were able to tap into and maybe cultivate and grow as a result of this initiative. Of course, the skaters like the book bike. I mean, they like things on wheels, right? I mean, I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand. But thank you so much for your time. What is this program where you're turning that bike into a bar? I'm going. I already have parents in Groton. I'll bring them with me.
Okay, well, reach out to me after, and I'd be delighted if you would.
Great.
Come. I'll say one last bit. You know, one of the most those embarrassing and delightful photos for me. One of the last and most important thing was how we presented it to the press. So we reached out to where we really wanted to get some media coverage from. We wrote a press release, and we tried to highlight all the positive things that the book bike was going to do. We shared images, which I think was important, and we got a really warm response. And we said we'll give you you know, a great exclusive interview, and we got some nice coverage and some nice photos. So that in itself, you know, reintroduced the library just in a new way, that you know, here we were, and it was the library, but we were heading out on a bike, you know, instead of in our everyday setting in our beautiful building. So I would put careful and good effort into the PR side of it, and start that a little bit ahead. But you know, this has been fun. Thank you for this conversation or monologue, as it's been.
Yeah. I loved it. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing. And this is such an amazing initiative and innovative approach to librarianship. And I'm gonna look for the book bike anytime I'm in southeastern Connecticut, one of them towns. I'm gonna find you one day.
Well, it's just been a pleasure to be here with you, Kim. And so thank you so much. And if any libraries out there in Connecticut are going to, you know, decide to order a book bike, you know, feel free to reach out to Mystic and Noank, and we'll be helping any way we can, guiding through the process.
Thank you.